Welcome to the 10-day Handshake Challenge. We are on day 10 and we have made it through some great information of how to set up our profile in Handshake and also a little bit of an added value item that I give to you each day to help you get through the application process of applying for internships or job opportunities, or just a little bit deeper on application document tips. So things like your CV or resume, and helping you make it through some of that information. I'm missing our beautiful campus today, so if you can see my video, I did change my backdrop to be of our SCAD School of Pharmacy. It is a beautiful campus and we will return, but today we are doing a little mini virtual series that is covering, I'm just trying to advance my screen here, that's covering the 10-day Handshake Profile Challenge blog that Handshake has produced. And there's an action item each day, as well as the added value item. Today, we are talking about how to apply to jobs in Handshake. So really, at this point, you are a Handshake super user. If you've been watching the recordings or if you've been joining these live mini-series, you have taken a number of steps to complete your profile, and you are now in a position where you can apply to job opportunities. So we want to just show you really quick how to do that in Handshake. And when you get into your profile, what you'll see is a toolbar at the top of your page, and you'll just select jobs. From there, you're going to automatically get some recommended jobs based upon those career interests that you've already completed from our prior sessions. So based upon, if you wanted a part-time opportunity, an internship, it's based upon your locations of interest, the roles, the industry of interest. This type of automated job recommendations will pull up for you. So you can see right here, because of my interest of my student profile, my example student profile, I can see that there's a clinical pharmacist job in Delta County, and this is in Colorado because that was my preference that I had made in my profile. I can also see that there's a pharmacist internship currently for Red Rock Pharmacy, a long-term care pharmacy. And then once I am clicking on these jobs, I can read the entire job description. So this would be a description of the company, a description of the role itself, and also if there's been one of your peers that have given a review on that company, that will pull up as an attachment to that job opportunity as well. So what you'll do after you select jobs, you click on any recommended jobs coming to you, or you use filtering options to pull up the list of available jobs. What you'll do is now select apply. So I'd like to direct your attention here that there's two different types of application. So the first, apply externally. When you see this, that means that the employer has a preference that you go out to their company page, their company application site, and submit your application external from Handshake. So what it will do within Handshake, it will still track that you've applied for this job through Handshake when you select apply externally, but you'll receive a pop-up browser, a new browser of that app, of that company's website, where you can submit the formal application. There's also the option, if you see that it says just apply and it doesn't say apply externally, this means that the employer is fine with you applying through Handshake, that you don't have to do an additional step at this point of submitting an application at their company website. So for this, you'll submit your uploaded resume, and what will happen is your completed Handshake profile along with your resume or CV that you've uploaded into your profile is going to be sent directly to that recruiter or that company contact who has created that job posting in Handshake. And at that point, after you submitted your application, either internally through Handshake or have gone out and applied externally at the company website, you'll now be in consideration for that position. So I will take questions. If you've tried this out yet in your Handshake profile of applying for jobs, please type in the chat your questions before I move on to the value added item. It looks like we do have a question. We haven't applied for or received our intern license. Would you recommend starting applying now? Absolutely. So for incoming pharmacy students, you have not applied for that intern license, I would suggest that you still go out and apply for these positions, because a lot of times the employers, they know that you haven't received that license, but that is being a part of an enrolled program that you will receive that license. So I would still apply at this time. The challenge might be if you are doing an external application, and on that formal application with the company, if it asks you specifically yes or no, are you licensed with the State Board of Pharmacy? And at that point, you would have to say no. So that may be a barrier because it might automatically kick you out of the consideration process because you're selecting no for a requirement of that job. So that would be true only on these instances where you're applying externally at a company website. If you found the job through Handshake and you experienced that, please let me know so I can reach out to the contact at the company directly and ask them what process you should go through, because they are sharing the job posting for students. And if you meet their criteria, then I would say, we want to find a way to still get your application to that hiring manager. And maybe it's just a matter of bypassing that formal, I don't want to say bypassing the formal process because you're still going to submit the formal application, but we'll make sure that the hiring manager has your contact information and your application so they can alert the HR department. So that would be the process I would work around. But please let me know if you experience that. For the most part, if you're meeting the qualifications in Handshake and you're submitting an application, you should be okay. If it's external from Handshake, that's where you may run into that situation. Thanks for the question. Some of the employers also recognize this, and so they, like this position right here, Kindred Hospitals, right now they have a technician. So if you are a certified technician, even if this role has been advertised for pharmacy students, and really the responsibilities will increase from technician responsibilities to intern responsibilities, but they've specifically advertised it as a technician to maybe bypass that situation. Okay, so let's move on into our value added items. So your action item is to apply for some jobs. Get in there, poke around, see the jobs that are available. Also recognizing that, as employers start posting positions and we have more students, because this is a new platform, Handshake it being a new platform for our school, we'll have more students joining. And as more students join, more employers are going to join and vice versa. So we really need to get in there, utilize the system so that both jobs can be posted and students are applying for those positions through Handshake. All right, so the extra value added item is just common application pitfalls. So these are things that we experience, and sometimes we wonder, I submitted my application and I knew that I was qualified for that. Why didn't I get a call back, right? So that might be a scenario that either you faced in the past or maybe that you could experience in the future. So just a few things to keep in mind. First, that resumes and CVs are very different from those formal company applications. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll create our resume and then we'll use that exact same information to help us populate the company application. This is something that we do not want to do because they are very different forms, right? Our resume and our CV is a marketing document. This is something that we are creating that showcases our skills and experiences and knowledge that are best suited towards the opportunity. And so in our resume or CV, we might potentially omit an experience that we had that was very short term. And therefore, it might appear that there might be a small gap of employment, based upon how we are going to structure that resume or CV. In your formal application, we do not want to omit experiences. We want it to be a full chronological history of our experiences. And so really the takeaway here is that there are two separate documents. That company application, you're going to have to produce full company address information, maybe phone number, maybe your supervisor information. Whatever question is asked on that company application, it needs to be completed in full, so very thorough. Whereas on our resume or CV, unless it's a federal resume that you're creating, we most likely don't have full address information, phone number, supervisor information on our CV for experiences. But you would have to produce that for your application. So just know that these are two separate documents that are showcasing your experiences. And the most important thing is that when you're completing that company application, that it's thorough and complete, that every field that they're asking for is completed. Second little application pitfall is that applications tend to be overgeneralized. And so, this is true for resumes as well, that we get a little bit accustomed to just putting in our tasks instead of really talking about our contributions. So back to that value added tip that we had earlier this week of making sure we are showing our impact in what we're doing for the company. We want to do this as we describe our work on an application, as well as on our CV and resume. We also want to make sure that we're not using a lot of buzzwords. So things like, that you are a strong team player, that you are a hard worker, that a go-getter. These terms, they tend to be overused and it becomes a buzzword over time. And so individuals who are reading your application or who are reading your resume, they just tend to glance over that and they're not putting a lot of stake in what you're saying because it's become a buzzword. So it goes back to having more of this genuine description of your skills and what you do. So just kind of as a recap, instead of saying effective communicator as a buzzword, really dig in to articulate what that means for you and how you did it in that role. So were you articulating clearly in a speaking engagement or in a presentation? With your writing, were you really able to get down into the problem and effectively show concisely what the problem was and what a solution might be? Were you listening empathetically? Were you facilitating a group discussion? Were you inquiring further information in a team environment? So being able to dig deeper into what communication means for you in that task, that responsibility, that work experience, and avoid those buzzwords or canned phrases that just come off of a job description. Okay, falsifying information. Now, a lot of times this is not even, intended, but sometimes even for job titles, we'll adopt a job title that might not be our formal job title with a company. And it's important that on your application with a company that you are putting very specific, accurate details of prior experiences. So that includes accurate dates, accurate job titles, so that when a HR department or that company, when they submit a verification of employment. This is very common. One of the vendors that is used that's known is called the work number. And this is an automated report that is submitted to a company that helps HR departments verify employment. And the information on that report is going to show your formal job title, the specific dates of employment, and so it's easy for the employer to verify. This needs to match your application. If it does not, if those dates are off considerably, a couple of months, that might be a red flag for an employer. If that job title appears to be off, that might be a red flag. So be aware of how you are entering information and make sure that it's accurate. And then applying to multiple positions or roles within one company is another red flag. So it's important that it doesn't appear to the recruiter or the talent acquisition team, the HR team who's receiving these applications. It's important that it doesn't appear that you're spamming your application and applying to anything that you might be qualified for, because that is going to be a red flag that you don't know what you really want, or that you don't know what your skills are and strengths are, and you're just applying to get a job. Employers do not look at that favorably. They want to know that you have a specific, passion or this curiosity or this eagerness to do one type of job, and that you're not going to be applying for all these other positions. So this is very common. I've seen this take place in pharmaceutical industry, where pharmacists work in a lot of various functional areas of pharmaceutical industry. But within those functional areas, there's different skill set requirements and skill sets that help you be successful. So everything from drug development and clinical trials and regulatory affairs, commercial and marketing opportunities, pharmacists work in those functional areas. But as you can imagine, the skills and the interests of an employee who works in drug development might be very different than those who work on the commercial and marketing side. So if you're just applying for every single opportunity that you could potentially be qualified for, it's not going to show your true direction and true interest in the company and the roles. So it's very important that you know what you want, why you want it, and that you're articulating that through your professional identity or brand, and through your application documents. So those are some common application pitfalls. I do believe I saw a question come through, so let me go ahead and take that. Otherwise, we are wrapping up, so feel free to type any other questions into the chat. If you had a job that was seasonal, that you've done over multiple years, only in the summer, how would you best denote that? Absolutely. So on your resume or that marketing document, I would simply just say exactly what you just alluded to. In parentheses, next to the dates, say seasonal, or even if it was kind of like a variety of positions that all kind of went under the same umbrella, you could say variety of roles in seasonal time frame. So that is a way that you can denote it on your resume. But you need to also, on your application document, be sure, so the formal application document, be sure that you are specifically saying the dates. So you would not be able to get away with just kind of this quotation of seasonal. You have to list the very specific dates for each opportunity that you had. Thanks for that question. Okay, so I have little ones coming behind me right now, and so I'm going to go ahead and say it looks like the questions have come through, and I appreciate you being here. You are now a, let's see, super user of Handshake. I'm going to advance my slide, and you are ready to start applying for those jobs and internships, and we really encourage that you share those successes with us. I'm in the Office of Student Services at the School of Pharmacy and Career Services, so please reach out to me. Let me know what type of internships you secure and any questions that you have. Take care, everyone.